Hello lovely people, I'm Catherine and welcome to this week's journal for all seasons. As many of you know, I haven't been well over the last few days. I'm pretty sure it was just a cold, and I am feeling better, slightly less bunged up and so forth, but just still very tired. Anyway, we're going to do the journal, but we're going to cheat slightly. So the page that I'm faced with today is... I'm going chronologically. If you've been following along, you'll know that. So last week's is there. So I've got this blank page, which is just copy paper, the back of last week's collage. And then I've got this other page here that was just, it's some sketchbook paper, but it was just a page that I think I was sort of cleaning off on when I was playing in my friend's studio. And then I've splattered on it and I've done some mark making and so on. But I just really liked it. I just liked the feel of it and the shapes and so on. And so I stuck it in when I made the journal as one of the pages, just with some washi tape and some masking tape. So I don't really need to do a lot to that, I don't think. But I'm going to put something here. Now I had these drawings. I've been playing with drawing portraits. And a few of them I'd painted. I've got this one here, I've shown you them before. That one that I'm not really very happy about. And then I traced that's an image transfer, I traced the tree woman from my original drawing to play with it a few times, and that's another one. But the one I want to use, I've got this one here, whoops, just because the colours go. And I like the way that the roses on her head kind of echo this shape here and so on and so on. And because of the roses, I've written on here, as you turn to walk away, as the door behind you closes, the only thing I have to say, 1, 2, 3, everybody who remembers the song, Elvis Costello and the Attractions, it's been a good year for the roses. And roses I've talked about before. From my own point of view, my granddad used to call me his little rose. I was the only granddaughter for years amongst the grandsons. And then there is this rose, which is the rose of York and Lancaster. Or the rose of Lancaster and York, I'm not sure which way round. Because if you don't know, sorry about that, the House of York in the north of England is represented by the white rose, and the House of Lancaster in the northwest of England is represented by the red rose. And my family's from Yorkshire, although I was born in Lancashire, so this is a rose that kind of resonates with me. So I thought I would fussy cut this out and stick it on there. And then I've got this girl to work on, and I think her hair, I sketched her, I just drew her, and then I've watercolour painted her, and I've been playing about with light and shade with watercolours and so on. And so it's just an experiment, and then I've done some drawing onto her. But I thought what I would do is I'll just put a little bit more into her hair with my colouring pencils, and then her blouse, I've got this napkin with roses on it. They're not exactly the right colour, but they're kind of okay. So I thought I might cut some of these out, or tear them, I don't know what, and stick them onto her bodice. So that's my plan, just really use what I've got. So I'm going to put my journal to one side for now, because it's easier just to work on this loose page. I'm sorry for the coughing. If I keep editing out, I'll be editing myself out every 5 minutes, so I just apologise in advance. I've got my Stabilo aqua colours. I'm just going to use them as colouring pencils. I don't really... just checking that shiny lid's in your shot, because that's not nice. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just going to take some of the reddy pinky colours, I think, and just do some colouring into her roses. Sorry. I'm going to try and do, is there a darker red than that even? Is that one darker? So I thought maybe, you know, this is, I mean, the theme of this journal for this year is self-care. So I have not been well. That's when we need to do the most self-care, when we're not well, isn't it? Whether that's physically not well or emotionally not well or whatever. So I guess you could have said that, I could have just said to you, I'm not doing this video today, and you would all have understood, and that would be fine, and hopefully I'll be better in time for the coverlet of comfort on Wednesday. But I've talked before about how my brain works, and many of you have called it conscientiousness, and that's a very kind way of putting it. I think as well it's some kind of, it's just the way my brain works, that if something's going to be done, it's going to be done, come what may. It's maybe also the stoic Yorkshire upbringing. I don't know, but I couldn't not do this. I couldn't not do this for you, but also I couldn't not do this for myself. But so maybe if there's a lesson to be learned, because I'm learning about myself through this process, it is, yes, we're going to do it, but we're going to take something that we've already spent a lot of time on as a foundation to make it easy on ourselves. And so I was looking through, you know, my drawings and stuff, thinking what can I do that I can add to enough to make an interesting video for you, hopefully, but that won't be too taxing in my weakened state. I mean, it's only a cold, you know, there are worse things in the world than having a cold, aren't there? But still, it does make you feel rough and tired and all the rest of it. So this is a compromise of sorts, but also a tip, you know. I mean, show up in the whatever way you can. I'm showing up here. I'm doing something. I'm going to have a sense of achievement at the end of it, you know. Yeah, I hope that makes sense. Sometimes you just can't, I know. I mean, I'm not that ill. If I'd had to have sat here a couple of days ago, it would have been a whole different story, because my nose was streaming, you know. It would have just been unpleasant for you as much as anybody else, apart from me. But now I can speak reasonably coherently, and, you know, my nose isn't running anymore so much. But yeah, sometimes you just can't, but if you can a bit, then do a bit. Just do a bit. It's, you know, I started by saying I'm cheating. It's not cheating, it's finding a way, isn't it? It's just finding a way. And if you don't have sketches laying about the place, you could just have taken a picture from a magazine or a book or something, or just done a quick tracing of a face. Just a little something, just to push yourself a tiny bit. I've missed one day walking Stella. The other days I have managed to walk her, but I've only just gone round the shortest possible route, just so she feels like she's been out. But yeah, one day I just couldn't at all, and she had to just make do with going out into the garden, which was fine. Just going to try and get some lighter colours in here. This background I've done with black gesso with quite a dry brush, so that's why it's got this. But I liked that whole effect because the expression of her face, I just was pleased with how it came out. It's more by luck than design. It's got a kind of quizzical, I don't know, quizzical aspect to it, a kind of quirky look about her, like what the heck is going on, but also it's got a little bit that feeling of a what do they call them, who did the Charleston Flappers, 20s, which is why I went with this hairdo, I think. And I'm going to do quite a lot of scribbling with this pink because I'm liking the way it's kind of blending everything else together. So yeah, a few of you have said about being on my own and being ill is no fun. Well, it's true, I guess, in a way, but in another way I've actually not minded, because I have food in the freezer which I've been eating, homemade soups and things. So it's just a question of warming them up. I did have shopping delivered this morning. Usually I go to the market for my vegetables on a Saturday, but obviously I didn't. Not only because I wasn't up to it, but also I don't think it's very nice if you don't have to go out to spread your germs about to other people. I haven't tested for the thing, you know, the famous thing that we all worry about these days, because I don't have any tests. I didn't want to go to the chemist to get a test, and I googled, and as long as you're isolating, which I am anyway, the treatment is the same, whatever kind of virus it is you've got. The temperature only lasted a night and half a day, so that wasn't a concern. It's been fluids, paracetamol, and rest, basically. Honey and lemon, nice soup to eat, and rest. So I don't need to know the name of it, because I wasn't putting anyone else at risk, and there's no treatment available to the likes of me, because I'm not in any kind of, you know, I'm a generally fit and healthy person, so no point in going to the doctors, just spreading the germs around. They can't do anything. Right, just have a look at that. Yeah, that's really, just that little bit of scribbling, I think that's really brought some depth into her hair. So let's have a little look at her blouse area. What I have been doing is watching some videos on, well, I've been binge watching Breaking Bad again. Don't ask me why, I've watched it about 10 zillion times. I've talked about it before. Excuse me. So I started, I don't know, I was looking for something to watch, you know, and I couldn't, my brain couldn't make decisions about what was good, and I didn't have anything on my recommended list from friends, although now I do have something on my recommended list, but I haven't looked at it yet. So Breaking Bad came up and I thought, oh, I'll just watch that again, so I started watching that. But I have been, well, one day I just laid there and did nothing except for watch and snooze. But then another day, I'm just splitting this napkin, by the way, down into its layers. I think there are 3. And I keep the inner layers as well for something else. Yeah, but the other thing, well, it came up on my YouTube. I think I've been watching wild camping, people wild camping or camping. And so my YouTube, you know, it starts recommending things. So then I was watching some bushcraft videos of people doing bushcraft, and then I've just yesterday watched a video by a young Englishman called Alec, I think. I can't pronounce the name of his channel, but I'm going to link you to one of his videos, which might seem like, Catherine, you're mixed media and slow stitching, mostly slow stitching. Why are you linking us to this young lad who's messing about in the woods? Well, I shall tell you. This particular video of his, and I've only watched one from his channel, although I have now subscribed because I was very taken with him. He's building an Anglo Saxon pit house somewhere near where I am, somewhere in the west, around the southwest of England. And he's basing, I'm going to cut these out because tearing, it won't, I could do the trick with the water brush and all that, but I just feel like cutting. I'm just going to cut some out raggedy to start with. Yeah, so he's basing his design, I think he said, from Sutton Hoo, which is quite a famous Anglo Saxon site up in somewhere further up north. Can't remember where. When I say further up north, I just mean from me, which is nearly everywhere in the country. Is it in Gloucestershire, Sutton Hoo? You'll be shouting at me if you know. But obviously nothing remains above ground. All that you have, well, it's a pit house, so you have the pit, you know, the dugout, and then some holes where posts were and that kind of thing. And just have a little look how these might go. And what happens above ground, you have to kind of extrapolate or whatever. So he explains, there's two versions of it. There's one where there's no talking whatsoever, it's just him building it, and you just watch and listen to the natural sounds. And he's using tools based on, as near as he can, the original tools that they would have used, so an axe, a knife, and then handmade mallets from wood, and a spade, I think that's all. And he talks at one point about how they wouldn't have used saws, because timber that has survived shows, you know, in buildings that still exist in England. This is 7th century he's going back to. Show axe marks but never any saw marks. So from that you can say, well, they didn't have saws, otherwise you'd see saw marks in the timber. So that is interesting. But also, well, the various things that came across to me as a slow stitcher, because I think it's interesting if you're into some certain type of thing and then you go and look at something else, you bring to it, don't you, your own thought process of your own thing that you're into. Are you following me? So when I'm listening to him talking about respecting the materials, he's using largely coppice hazel from within a mile of where he's building the house. So he's talking about the respect for the materials, where the material comes from, and then when he's working with it, he's noticing its properties and responding. So let's listen to the cloth, listen to the materials. And obviously by definition the process is slow and mindful, because he's never done it before, and he obviously has some knowledge. He's not, you know, a complete novice, but he's never built this particular kind of house before, so he's having to be mindful, pay attention to the process, listen to the materials, respond. Oh, the material does that, so I'll do that. And then he's doing literal things that we do. He's weaving, he's stitching, he's doing all those kinds of things, or some appropriation of stitching. I'm thinking about when he's putting the thatch on and he uses these, what do they call them? A bent bit of hazel, you know, and he works it in the middle so that it gets bendy and then leaves the two straight bits firm. The way that he bashes those down over the thatch to hold it in place is, I thought of them like stitches. So yeah, and there's two versions, like I said. There's one where he's just doing it, and there's another one which I'm now about halfway through, where he does it with commentary. And last night I watched just let him build it, you know, and I watched, kind of thing. And I'm going to take a breath. Oh dear. Sorry, breathe, Catherine. Don't forget to breathe, it's important. But now this morning, while I've been having my breakfast, I've started watching the one with commentary. I think I'm about halfway through. It's about an hour and a half long, but I know most of you here don't mind that, but otherwise you wouldn't be watching me, although I don't think I've done an hour and a half. But then I've never built a long house before, a pit house before. So I think I'm just going to stick these on and just overlap them. So I'm going to start with one. I've got my medium. I thought I'd treat myself since I'm poorly to using it. I did mix in a little bit more of the runny Liquitex because it was getting a little bit thick. I wonder how long I can keep it going by just adding a bit of the runny stuff every now and then. Obviously because it's tissue, I'm applying it to the background, not to the tissue, because that wouldn't end well. And I'm probably going to cover up a little bit of my text that I wrote around the line of her blouse, but it doesn't matter, it's there. I'm just trying to use the curve of the rose to follow the curve of her her blouse like that. Yeah, so I would recommend, I think you'd like it, I really think you'd enjoy it, watching this young chap work. You know, even though you think it's not your sort of thing at all, I know who would enjoy it, because I know she watches Time Team, and that's Mary Ellen. Hello Mary Ellen, if you're watching, I suspect you are. But it's, if nothing else, it's interesting to think about how, I mean, I think everything's interesting basically. I mean, you can find interest in everything, can't you? If you have the right kind of brain, which I think most of us do, because we're creatives. But if you kind of look at things that you think might not be for you, and just try and find, I know that overlaps, I'll trim that later. You can find some frame of reference within it that speaks to you. Right, put that one there, like it just seems to want to go there. So yeah, so watching this young man with his hand tools building this house, and then thinking about aspects of slow stitch. It's slow building. I mean, you know, it literally is slow building. I mean, slow stitching is not the only slow thing there is. There's a whole movement of slow. We've talked about it before, haven't we? You know, slow fashion, slow cooking, slow parenting, slow. It's just all about being mindful and meditative and process focused, and respect for the materials, the children, respect for the children maybe. That's where you draw that comparison. So I'm just jigsawing these little bits of roses onto her blouse while I'm talking to you. I've got a workshop on Wednesday, an in-person workshop. It's the first of a 3-part introduction to slow stitch at the David Hall in South Petherton. I think there are still a couple of places left. I know it's going to be last minute now, but if you did want to come along, South Petherton is in Somerset in the southwest of England. You'd be very welcome. I'm going to just trim some of that because that's a waste. Whoops. But I kind of like how the petals are now going in all different directions. That's better. Let's put that there. I do apologise if my head's coming in, but I think I almost don't have to say it anymore because it always happens. Oh, sorry, croaky. Yeah, I hope I can still talk on Wednesday. Well, I haven't been talking a lot, to be honest, because I've just been here on my own. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I've never really been with anybody who has, now I'm going to sound like poor me, who has looked after me in any way, shape or form when I've been ill. Certainly the last relationship, there was not much sympathy, and certainly no allowances made, shall we say. Whoops. So I don't have a lot to compare it with, and my upbringing was quite, yeah, get on with it, Catherine, kind of, you know. Also, I guess if I'd had someone who would be bringing me hot drinks and feeling sorry for me, and I've just put my fingers in the glue and so on, then maybe I would miss it, but I've never really had that, so I don't. So I think I'm just better off on my own. Then I can sleep when I want, eat when I want, lay here with a runny nose, feeling sorry for myself without anybody to witness it. But yeah. I haven't really minded being on my own. I haven't been sleeping regular hours. Not even for me, who doesn't often sleep, kind of, you know, from a certain time at night to, well, I'm usually awake early and sometimes awake at some point during the night, and I know many of us are the same. Seems to be as you get older, I don't know. I guess some people never sleep well. Let's put that bit back there. I just need a little bit there. Put that bit there. And there we have it. That will do pig. Okay, so let's put that away back in the collage box and just trim those last bits off. And then I can cut my rose out. Oops. These are the blunties, of course. There we go. I don't know if I want to do any more on her. I don't think so. I think I'm quite happy with her. I was quite pleased with the light and dark on her face. I kind of visualised the light coming this way, so the lines there, so the shape of her neck, and you know, it's not art, it's just me messing about, but I was quite pleased with it. Okay, so yeah, I think I'm going to cut up here that shape. I think I'm going to cut that off. Yeah, I'm just going to go for it. This is from Mr. Marshall's Book of Flowers. I'll get it, I'll show you. If I can find it. Mr. Marshall's Flower Book. Mr. Marshall's, sorry, sit down, Catherine. Mr. Marshall's Flower Book, as I've talked about before. I actually picked this up in a charity shop. It's a modern book. It's the Florilegium of Alexander Marshall from the 17th century. And it's the only surviving example of an English flower book. But it is quite widely available, I think. You know, if you look on eBay or whatever. But it's got these gorgeous... See, I've been hacking into it already. Please don't lecture me for cutting up books. I know that those of you that have been here for a while won't. There are so many books that are just trashed every year. But it's got beautiful pictures. Anyway, so that's where my Rose of Lancaster and York came from. The other thing you could do if you get a book like that and you really can't bring yourself to cut it up is just photocopy it. When it's for your own use and nobody sees it, I guess that's fine. In terms of copyright. Anyway, I'm going to cut this out. It's probably not very interesting and I need to concentrate, so I can't talk at the same time. Okay, so I've stuck her on as well. That's gone a bit rumply, but let's call that folds in her blouse. I actually used double-sided tape because that was really flimsy paper, so I just put a little bit of double-sided tape all around the edge. I've cut my rose out. I've inked the edge of it just to lift it up off the page a little bit. I'm going to use this because it's this quite thick book page, so I'm going to use my medium. That's the only thing about cutting out of that book, is that you lose the image on the back, so probably just for my own use I would photocopy that, but I'm not entirely sure I should be photocopying things and putting it on YouTube. I think that's breach of copyright. I'm not sure. If I'm not sure, then I don't. I'm not even sure cutting, well, it's still in copyright, this book, so I'm not even sure what I am doing with it is okay. So I see lots of other people using current books, but it doesn't mean it's right. Oh, I've put glue on it now and I haven't decided exactly where I'm going to put it. Oh well, you can move it for a little minute with the medium. I think I wanted it kind of so the rose was coming out of this red area. And now it's overlapping. Again, I shall trim it off after. Let's just go for there. I need a bit more under that edge. It's really thick paper. And I cut some of the inside shapes out, but not all, because it's just too fiddly. And I didn't cut round every little, you know, I did my best. So even with this, it's not sticking down very well, or maybe I have diluted it a bit too much. That'll do, pig. Trim that off in a minute. So I've got my words, like I said, from the song. I can't remember now if it was actually an Elvis Costello song or if it was a cover. I should have looked that up in advance. If you know, please tell me in the comments. But I think it was in the 80s or the 90s. It was a beautiful song. It was about the breakup of a relationship, so sad and beautiful. But what I quite liked about it when I was doing this girl and the song came into my head because of the roses, was that the song is about, that's a bit Even Stevens. I don't like it that Even Stevens, I like it more random. Random Malcolm, that doesn't rhyme. I can't. Random Brandom? No, that's... What's a name that rhymes with random, with an M on the end? Can't think of any names with M on the end except for Malcolm. Miriam doesn't go with random. Random... Sorry. Oh dear. Sometimes the brain is interesting. I'm sure my head's coming in again. I do apologise. What was I saying? Yeah, the irony of it being a breakup song. It's very sad if you know it. If you don't, then I'm sure you can find it. If you don't know it or remember it. But it has, well, it's been a interesting year for me, being as how I'm the roses. That's my point, really. I'm the pink rose and the white rose and the red rose. So I am the roses in this concept. So it has been a good year. On balance, I know we're not up to the new year, but we're coming up to Samhain, which is the end of October, which is a Celtic New Year. So the end of summer in the Northern Hemisphere. A good year for the roses of York and Lancaster, as embodied by one Catherine of K3 and Cloth Tales. On balance, it's been a good year. Right, so there we go. Again, it's very personal to me. I hope if you're following along you can find a way to put your own spin on it. Maybe just that theme of, oh, I needed to trim my stalk. I need to prune my rose. That theme of, if you're not up to doing something that you've committed to doing, find a way to do it. That's really not stuck on very well, but anyway, we're going to give ourselves some grace. Find a way to do it. I'm just trimming that stalk, you probably can't see. Find a way to do it that you can manage, and then you'll get a sense of achievement, however small a thing it is. Maybe you can just get your journal and a pencil and just write, I showed up, and that's your entry for the day. If that's all you're up to, I showed up, just write that. Give yourself grace. Anyway, because I had her in stock, so to speak, I managed quite a nice looking spread in the end. I'm very pleased with how that looks against that background. So there we go. I'm going to check you can see it all. Move it down slightly. There we go. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for all your messages of support while I've been poorly. It really is nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's just a cold, but you know, and I'm getting better. But thank you so much anyway. And I shall see you on Wednesday, those of you who are coverlet of comforting, for the coverlet of comfort. But so until then, take very good care of yourselves. Lots of love and kisses. Bye bye. Bye bye.